Well, I was on the West Coast, and I heard about this black brother whooping everybody, out there. I said, well, there's another black. I was whooping everybody on the East Coast. And then when I found there was a brother out there, who? Yeah, this black guy, he's beating everybody. Boy, he's winning all the tournaments, And yeah, that's that Sanders fellow there. That's Steve Sanders, boy. He's winning everything. He's beating a lot of folks.
My grandfather, at the age 4, he hung a bag up that was filled with cotton and dirt in the bottom of it. He took me out there at the age 4. He said, you can hit it, you can kick it, you can even hit it with a stick, but you can't put holes in it. And he put me out there, and I'm hitting it with my hand. My little hands started bleeding. My grandmother came out. She said, oh, and she wrapped my hands up, And I'm thinking that she gonna keep me in the house because my hands are hurting. She took me and put me back in that smokehouse and said, go at it, And I'm looking at her and saying, I'm hurting. So I'm thinking to myself, she says, no, your grandfather put you out here for a reason. You hit that bag. She had wrapped my hands up so it didn't hurt anymore, so I'm out there hitting. I hit that bag from the age of 4 until I was around 8 or 9 years old. And I got so happy, well, I wasn't just swinging at it. I got so I could hit. I came up in a slave era. My grandmother and grandfather were slaves, actual slaves. I came up, I was born in 1939. Can you imagine what it was like in 1930? The Klan was running rampant at that time. I almost got lynched in Mississippi. My grandmother sent me to the store. She sent me down to get some groceries with a little list. And when I got to the front of the line, white people started coming in. He would wait until they went and got their stuff. And I'm standing in line, I said, why are you waiting for them, And finally I said, excuse me, sir. I said, I'm next. He said, wait your turn, nigga. So I'm standing there and I'm thinking, man, my grandfather got me that way too. He said, don't you allow no white man to call you a nigga and get away with it. So I'm standing there and I'm got a little can of tomato paste about this tall, about this big around. I took that can of tomato paste and threw it and hit him upside the head. You could see his head was bleeding because I put a dent in his head with that can. So I dropped everything and I ran down to my grandfather's house. My grandfather told my father, oh, get him and take him and put him on a plane. They're gonna come for me. And my father got me out of there, put me in the truck and put me on a plane back to Kansas. My father said he got back to the house. My grandfather was sitting in a chair in the living room with a shotgun. They were cradling like you do a baby. 15 white men came to my grandfather's house looking for me. I'm 11. They asked for me. And my grandfather walked to the door, opened it up with his foot, stood in the door with his shotgun across his arm and said, yeah. And one of the white men, my father said, step forward. The white boy stopped him and said, there's the LC there. He said, when he said, yeah. Because they knew my grandfather would shoot, And my father said after they left, my grandfather went out back. He makes a sound with his mouth. He raises his shotgun up and he turns it 3 times in the air. 30 black men stood up in the cornfield out back of the house. All of them had shotguns. They wouldn't sell rifles to black people back in the day. They could only go hunting with shotguns because they knew that if there was a problem, they could stand out 100 yards and shoot them. They could not shoot them back. So they wouldn't sell them. I learned a lesson from that. And there are things that he told me that I wouldn't want to put on film. But one of the things he told me was never to be afraid of a white man. Even today, I fear no white people at all. No matter how big or how bad he think he is, I'll fight him. And that's because of my grandfather. He put me on a warrior path. have never forgotten my grandfather for doing that kind of thing. Even though he was a slave, he was not fearful. Once he became free, he was not fearful of white people. They would fight. Our grandfathers and stuff, or forefathers, they fought them. They never stopped fighting them, even under slavery. They were always, my grandfather sat me down and told me that there were black men that they would cook up all that sugar cane, they make it into syrup. They had men that would jump into the syrup and kill themselves to spoil that syrup, so that the white men, they just got tired of being a slave. So they would make them cook it, but they had to have somebody white that was close to the pot. They could only bring them, because someone would jump in there and spoil the, man, you had to have heart to do something like that. You know, they were constantly running away, and they fought to the death when they ran away. And this is, we don't really know our history the way we should know it. And to know that our people, and it may make our children today understand, we have never been punks. We have always been warriors, brother. And that is in us today. That needs to be brought out. Well, I went through the 4 tips and I made brown belt under Danny and Asante. So that took about 4 years to get there. I was the only black in that school for that 4 years. They were able to grab me and throw me down, pound me into the ground. And it was like when they came at me, I never thought to throw punches back, because many of them were already black belts and brown belts, and I was a white belt. They didn't treat each other that way. They treated me that way because I was black. I never fought them back, really, until that one day I told you about Scotty Lauren. That's when I started to fight back. And he was about the biggest and the baddest white boy in the school at that time. And they usually picked me to fight him because he could pound me into the ground, you know. So this particular day I got out there and I just thought, he moved at me, and when he moved, I shift back. And I thought to myself, man, I saw that. I found that I could move, that I could see movements from my opponent. Usually they come and they just come and grab me and beat me and throw me on the floor. But this particular time, he went like this and I moved with it. And I said, oh, I saw that. So every time he would move at me, I'd shift back out of the way. And I did that a few times, and he said, why don't you stand and fight? You know. So I said, I'm gonna, you know, try and throw a little front hand. I threw a little front hand and touched him on the face. He chased me around the school. He came at me yelling and screaming. So I took off running. And they grabbed him and lined us back up again and said, fight. And I said, well, I'm gonna try a little kick at him. So I threw a little kick and touched him inside the leg. He came at me the same way. I was close to the wall, so when I ran to turn away from him, my hands hit the wall. So when I hit the wall, I looked over my shoulder and I saw a fist coming. So I slid down the wall. He knocked a hole in the wall. And they grabbed him, they're holding on to him, and I yelled out, you know, let him go, which I didn't mean at the time, because I didn't want him to let that guy go. But they held on to him. Scotty actually quit. He never came back again. I never saw him after that day. But once I found out I could start to fight a little bit, I wreaked havoc in that school then. I fought everybody. Those kind of things were well known back in those days. Even when I fought in the international, and I won't mention his name either because you know him too. But I went to this person after being cheated with fighting Joe Lewis. And I had clearly beat Joe Lewis. And I went to him and I said, they just cheated me. And he said, yes, I know, Steve. I said, well, nobody speaks up for me. Because back then, there was nobody, no teacher, no instructor, no nothing would speak up for anybody black. That's why the Black Karate Federation was actually formed.
This is the way I feel.
So I said, he said, no black is going to win now. They're not ready for a black champion. And I said at the time to him, I said, but I'm here now. This is my time. Tomorrow it may not be my time. This is the best fight I've ever done. But right now, this is my time.
This is where
I said, I'm sorry, Steve. And I became better and better and better until finally they had to let me win. It was asked later on, how did you handle that? And I said, I turned pain into skill. Bruce and I became friends. And he wasn't what you call really quick. He had what you call uncanny timing, which means his timing for striking was darn near perfect. He studied black fighters. If Bruce was alive now, he would let you know that, and it was said by Bruce, if you want to learn how to fight, you should study black boxers and black fighters. The day that I met Bruce, he was sitting with Chuck Norris, and he asked Chuck, he said, who's that guy? Man, he's got extremely fast hands and feet. At the end of my match, I was standing there, and Bruce came out. He was known as the Green Hornet at the time. He was loved by everybody in the martial arts. So he came out, and he touched me on the shoulder, and I turned around. And on the Green Hornet, wearing that black, he looked very thin. But in person, he had on a suit. He looked buff in that suit. So when I turned around, he said, Steve. I said, yes, sir. He says, you have very fast hands and feet. I said, oh, thank you. And he talked for a little bit and was elaborating on my fighting skills. And he decided to walk away. And he stopped and he said, do you know me? And I said, no. He said, Bruce Lee. It was like a big light. Whoa, man, this is Bruce, I ran up to
Green Hornet.
Yeah, the Green Hornet. And I shook hands with him, And he said, stay in touch, I said, how? Many people don't know that I spoke with him quite often. He had films on me in fighting. And he had a film on me from white belt to brown belt to black belt. And I was watching this film one day, and I saw this kid fighting, and he was really raggedy. He was stumbling and throwing and had all kind of crazy form. And I said to myself, man, that dude is terrible. When it came up close, it was me. I said, whoa, I was really embarrassed because I was talking about how bad he actually looked. But that was me as a white belt learning. Then he came, next film, it was me as a brown belt. And it was the same distance. I said, oh, looking at, he was moving really nice, And I said, I'm thinking now, and I'm waiting for it to come close. I said, yeah, that's me, When it got there, he had it also in black, and it showed the improvement in each stage. There was a great improvement from the beginning up until making black belt. And he studied all black fighters, including Muhammad Ali and Joe Louis and Sugar Ray Robinson. He had films on all of them. All the great, that's why you saw him throw a lot of boxing type movements in his movies, because he studied those boxing.
A real boxer, this is nothing but a target for a man who can stay on his toes, who can stick and stay off range when he don't want to punch. When he's ready to punch, move in, stick, back off of him, just keep boxing. Style. There's nowhere in the world from a man that don't have no footwork to catch me. Even a welterweight. Keep your camera moving, because I'm kind of fast. Keep your camera moving. Lightweight's not this fast.
I can only speak for myself. We had to take care of business. And when we did, you need a certain kind of man that has the heart to do that. Everybody don't have that kind of makeup. And you got to be able to pick team that got that makeup. Men that are like in mind. So I found like men to do that. I don't care whether I like you or not. If you can help me help him, hell, come on. And I'm not going to teach him less than I teach somebody else. Hell, he may have to get my back. I'd be a fool to teach him less than I teach you. Because hell, him and I are the only one. He said, I got your back. Now I got to watch over my shoulder and try to fight in front because he may be gone to let somebody get to me. That can't happen. we had a training unit here, like we had in LA. And Allah is beautiful, man. We were picking people at the door as they came in. So when we saw strong brothers coming in the door, they weren't Muslim, we would stop them and say, you know, we're the security team, and we were in good shape, look strong and hard. I weighed 165 then, look a lot different than I look now. And all the brothers, because we did pull-ups and dips and push-ups, we had wide backs with big shoulders and stuff. We'd be standing at the door, and they walk up to the door, and the brother was already built and stuff and looked strong. We would stop him at the door and say, brother, you know, you go in today, and if you accept, tell them that you're already part of the security team. That's why you came in, you know. We started getting strong brothers at the door from that. We started training those brothers. We got up to 19 men. I mean strong brothers, 19 strong men. But with that 19 brothers, they had us to do the fighting and do all the things that needed to be done. They had us to do it because we were training military. We were training tactics-wise as to how to fight when we fought some people there. We fought them to negotiation. There was about 60 of them, and there was 11 of us. And they were coming at us with sticks and all kind of stuff. We were putting them down. By the time, so they had us kind of like, we had moved up against the wall, and we had made a semicircle around that wall. And we used that wall as our back so they couldn't come and get it, because they could have encircled us if we had went to that wall. So we had kind of like a horseshoe, and we were standing in a fighting stand. We were dynamiting them dudes, brother. We had this big brother in the back, and he could hit harder than all of us. He weighed about 225 pounds. He was cut up, brother. That dude was fast, a hard-looking brother. Had just got out of the Marine Corps too. We had him on our team. And what we would do when they came up to try to hit, we would block, and grab him and throw him in that ring. And that brother would knock him cold when he hit him, brother. We had 18 of them piled up in that horseshoe that we had there. And they finally started. Every time one would, like he's coming out of it, he'd go tag him again, put him out again. He could knock you out cold, brother. So they negotiated with us to stop fighting. Brother Halim came down and negotiated that. And they put us in jail that night. So you know what I'm talking about now. They put us in jail. And I'm sitting there, you know, I'm beginning to feel where they was hitting me with those sticks and stuff. And at the time, we didn't feel it. You know, because we fighting, and we fighting for our life, you know. I'm in jail, I'm sitting on the bed like this. I'm sitting like this on the bed. I saw this guy look around the corner. He looked around the corner and I'm looking at him and said, he goes, like that to me. I didn't move, I just sat there. Then I saw another head come around. Then all of a sudden a mattress, like a mattress on the bed, came around and got in front of the door. I heard him say, open 5, which is what I was in. And the door started to slide open, you know, and I stood up. And as the door slid open, you couldn't see what was behind the door. What they're going to do is smother me with the So when the door opened out, I did a spinning back kick. And hit that mattress. When I hit it, I heard somebody go, He said, close number 5, close number. So they closed the door back. After that, they never came back and tried to open that door again. Because whoever I hit, I don't know who I hit. But I hit somebody and got them solid with that kick. They said, close that door back. And they closed that door back. And I'm sitting there on that bed and I'm thinking now, they came by for the rest of the time before they came and got us out of there. And all of them came by and went like that to me. And you know what that means. Right. You know? But they never came back in there. And I can say it now. At the time, I was a police officer. You don't even recognize me. I recognized some of them, but they didn't recognize me. They weren't even looking at me in that manner where they could recognize me.
No,
they just hated me at the time.
Oh, God.
Yes, sir. As I walked out of there, when they came and got me, I walked out of there, and they were all going like this, you know, towards me. Because I was wreaking havoc. I couldn't hit like this dude at that time could hit, but I was wreaking havoc on them. Some of them had got broken ribs, broken jaw, broken foot. He was stomping them on the, he was firing them dudes up, man. But we went to a range and we rented whatever we needed to use to practice with, you know. And I had some to practice with all kinds of different things because it was said, and I had heard it being said earlier, that we don't carry not even a penknife. But when you get something, you take it from the enemy. You must know how to use it. Because you must see if God is as merciful to him as he was for you. I worked with Wesley, I got the job with Wesley. We were at one of the Cal States there, and I had roaming security, where I roam around the building and any hot spot, we would handle that. I get a call to go outside because they got gang members out there. They want to come in and hear the minister, but they don't want to pay. So I went and checked and they said, you can let them in. You know, if they want to hear the minister, you can let them in. He said, but get an understanding with them. There will be no mess when they come in. So we went over. Wesley was sitting in the truck. And so we're standing there talking. And I get an understanding with him and say, now, you're in charge of these men, right? He said, yeah. I said, anything go wrong in there, we're not going after them. Guess what we're coming after? We're coming after you. So Wesley heard me say that. And when he came inside, he asked about who the guy was outside talking, because he liked the way I dealt with the gang member. He said, is that the guy that do karate? And the guy said, yeah, that's the karate guy. He said, can you introduce me to him? So some guy came outside and got me and said, Wesley Snipe. He says, I'm looking for a bodyguard. He said, you think you're interested in it? I get down there, and on that paper it says, you don't have to worry. I'm going to take good care of you, Steve, if you become my bodyguard. So I took that to heart and said, okay, brother, when I'll be gone, I'd come back to my room sometime, and I'd be so bothered by not being able to see my family or see my wife. And I'd come home and open the door, my wife and my family would be sitting there. I didn't know he had even sent her. This is for me, and for you letting your husband protect me. He was a good guy. He took very good care of me, and in return, I took care of him. He was never negative. He was always positive.
Yes, sir.
How much you weigh?
185.
185. I may be able, he throw a blow, I may be able to stop that blow. But if I can't stop it, first time I hit it and he shift my body back, this guy's strong. So next time I hit, I'll take it and redirect it, which means that that blow will continue, but it continues past me now. I didn't try stopping it because he moved me back when he stopped. Too strong for me. Hitting with your fist, you can do that. But our hands are not made, neither your hands are made that. They hit bone on bone, where you can do it and get away with it a little bit. So what I learned to do is I learned to target bone areas that I could break, where it wouldn't hurt my hand. So rather than hit you here, I'll hit you there if I hit you with a quick hand. Get a good impact with that blow, with that little snap. When I hit, and make your head turn. And if you turn far enough, I'll hit that shoulder and spin you back, and then I'll hit any part of the body that I want. You attack certain areas. If I want to break the jaw, I'm not going to try breaking it here. I'll break it here because this part is only connected here. You can actually take this loose and take it all the way out if you want to do that. This up here is connected to all of this. So when you start hitting to the head, you hit into something that is very big and very broad. But this, when you attack that, you can take that out. And I remember when I was out here and I hit, I actually changed the hand. I didn't just hit the side of the jaw. I actually changed it down so I could actually take that part of the jaw out. You understand? If I want to hit you here, I'll take it and hit you with a palm there, not with a fist. I can break that. This is not going to break when I hit with it. So I'm learning how to target my opponent. When I hit you, I don't just hit you in the stomach. I'll go a little higher and hit you in the solar plexus, which will take the breath away from you. And if I want to break something, I just move it over a little bit to the rib cage. So anywhere you got a fat man, he's got a big stomach on him, where you can hit that stomach and may not penetrate it, because Their stomach muscles are actually made to take blows this way, not made to take blows this way and this way. When I want, if I hit you in the face, boom, your body lean back, and I want to palm you, boom, and I want to drop it down, boom, I send it down through the body, not into the body, but down. I can hit you up here and make you grab your groin, because I send the energy down into your groin, not just into your stomach. That energy continues down. You understand what I'm saying? Hell, should be able to hit here and make you go on both sides. Same thing with the back. Get hit here, he should feel it all the way in his back. But you have to know how to penetrate. And to be able to kill the body is actually very tough. But you can kill it very easy if you know how. And you can kill it as quick as you can with a gun. I'm listening to this type of music, type of sound, and there is an actual rhythm to this type of movements. Or you could hit, there's a rhythm to that. And when you're fighting, according to what you see, will dictate the rhythm. Because I can hit him real quick. That comes in, that explosion. I'm setting you up for that explosion. Each time that I hit harder. That's why I say when you fight, you should only fight between 3 and 5 seconds. That fight should end. Otherwise, you in a fight. You disengage, you re-engage. You go back to that 3 to 5 seconds. But if you're working on him in that 3 to 5 seconds and you can't get to him, you checking and counting that stuff, and you checking, disengage, re-engage. Or give him 5 seconds. When you can fight that way. How many people can you fight? If you can take each one of your enemy out within 3 to 5 seconds and say that you're in good shape, hell, you can fight all day. You hear what I'm saying? I've been on 1 meal a day for 30 years now. I have not deviated from it. I go through those 4 laws: spiritual law, dietary law, fitness law, and skill law. I act on that every day. And I eat bean soup every day. That's part of my diet that helped keep me. It put protein because I don't eat no meat. I haven't had any flesh in 30 years. No fish, no chicken, no nothing. Just a vegetable plate along with that cup of beans. And physically, it has kept me physically young. Not like I was when I was 20 or 30, but physically young. Young enough to give you some backup if you need it. And fighting right now, especially on the West Coast, they consider me to be one of the hardest hitting martial artists in existence today, even at my age. It comes from understanding this pattern, but also from understanding Islam and knowing that when the Creator created me, He created me in the image and likeness of Him and said that I can do the things in which He can do. We have that ability that has to be taught to us in order for us to be able to fight like a God, like a God, not like the God. We have the ability to do that. I use that when I teach. I believe that when I teach. Hell, I fight like that when I fight. When you step in front of someone, the thought of losing, quitting, or having doubt in being successful in overcoming that opponent does not exist. All praises due to Allah. And I tell my children, if you follow the dietary law, which is given to us, then you can stay like you are for many, many years. You can eat 50 and 60, 70 and 80 and look to be 30 and 40 years of age. I I didn't get into Islam until I was 46. Allah has blessed me. I always tell the brothers, I said, you know, Allah loves me, brother. They all laugh and say, he loves me too, brother. I said, yes, sir, he loves me too. And I said, he takes care of me through knowledge. I remember I had a birthday about 4 or 5 years ago, and I said, whatever amount of people call me and wish me happy birthday, that's how long I'm going to live. You know, I got 153 calls for saying happy birthday, and I said, I'm going to live to be 153. I'm working on that, but I have to work on it. Just can't just say that that's going to happen. I have to continue to, on my dietary law, my spiritual law, my dietary law, my fitness law, and my skill law. Maintain this skill as long as I can. And when they take me out of here, they're going to take me out of this room. This is where I'm going to die, right? Yes, sir. Because I wouldn't be working out.